Hey folks, welcome back to the Lone Pine Tarot, or of course, welcome to the channel for the very first time if you're brand new here. Thank you so much for joining me today for a pick a card reading with a very straightforward topic, and that is, of course, urgent, important messages from the universe. I thought we'd just kind of keep our Sunday reading today open to see what comes through. So, without further ado, let us pick our pile leaders to choose our messages with today using the Seed and Sickle Oracle today. Alright, feeling this one for pile 1. And let's use this one for pile 2. And for pile 3 today, I say let's choose this one. Okay? So for pile number 1 over here on the left, your pile leader today is, oh, very cute. We have number 33, Dandelion. Okay, then for pile 2 here in the middle, your plant today is number 6, the poppy. And of course, last but not least, for our wonderful pile 3 over here on the right, your flower today is, actually not a flower, just a plant, ivy, with the number 35. So, quick refresher, pile 1, you are Dandelion, pile 2, you are Poppy, and pile 3, you are Ivy today. Though, of course, as I always say, you're welcome to pause right now on this part of the reading if you need more time to decide. If you're new to pick a card readings, I would suggest taking a little meditative moment to decide. Basically, what I suggest is take in a deep cleansing breath. Imagine that you're breathing in light and hold that in your lungs for just a few moments. And then when you breathe it back out and open your eyes or look at the video again, whatever your preference, if you had your eyes closed or not, what is your eye drawn to first? What feels right in your gut? And that is the pile I recommend you choose. But whatever your method of picking your pile today, of course, when you are ready, you can drop down to the description box below or the top pinned comment beneath the video. Click on the timestamp there for your pile, and I'll see you in our little chat about important, urgent messages from the universe meant for your ears today. See you there. Hello there, my wonderful pile number 1. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about important, urgent messages from the universe meant for your ears right now. As you recall, the pile leader you were drawn to was the very beautiful Dandelion, number 33. So we'll set your pile leader to the left as we usually do. And let's begin with both a Lenormand and Geomancy reading. However, pile 1, I already did the Geomancy reading before I hit record just to save us some time from having to, take time to calculate it and everything with all the points. And the Geomancy sigil I got for you today is called Cauda Draconis, Tail of the Dragon. So we'll talk about what that means more in a little while, but we'll set that one up there. And then let's draw your Lenormand card today. We'll glean a little bit more about what area of your life Spirit wants to talk to you about today. Okay, I'm going to take this one. And then I also want to draw one of the tarot decks here. There we go. Okay. Except I can't fit all 3 of these on the desk today, so I might have to kind of cover these a little bit, but I am going to keep all 3 that did fall out pile 1. So apologies, I will hold up each one at a time so you can see what they are. So we have the Knight of Cups. We have the Lovers. Okay. And we have Strength. Very cute. Some mountain lions sitting here with a cub. So Knight of Cups, Lovers, and Strength. I'm actually going to leave Strength on the top here. But let's not forget those other cards. And then for Lenormand, you received today the birds, okay? And the birds in Lenormand pile 1 represent communication. So a little bit of a picture forming here. Let me look over everything for just a moment. Very interesting, pile 1. Something about a choice to be made and communication and endings. But then looking at your Pastoral Tarot here. Sorry, I was just holding it up to show myself off screen. I'll hold it so you can see it a little bit more. Well, you know what's interesting, pile 1, is lovers, yes, very popularly can represent a romantic relationship, but another aspect of the lovers is it can represent a choice, because the traditional depiction of the lovers is a man choosing between 2 different potential women to pick. Okay, so definitely the universe wants to talk to you today about some sort of choice that you're coming up against. I don't know if you've been really like debating over something lately and it's been causing you some tension, some stress, and you're like, I don't know what choice to pick, I don't know what path to take. And it especially has to do with matters of following the heart, pile 1, because that's what the Knight of Cups does. Knights take action, and because he's in the cup suit, which is emotions and relationships, also, I call it the heart suit, right? It's where do I go based on where my heart is leading me? And on top of that, you have, like I said, strength. Strength is about our willpower. Strength is about our courage. And it's very interesting. This particular depiction is a cool version of strength because, yes, we think of mountain lions or cougars, pumas, whatever you call them. They're called many different things across the different regions. But you might think of them as very powerful animals, very strong. But they're currently laying in what looks like a place of disaster. The trees have been uprooted. It looks like things are falling over. But there's light peeking through, so it's almost a variation of strength of being strong during hard times, okay? And that's why I do want to keep that up top. So I think what led you to this choice, pile 1, is where the Geomancy reading comes in, as well as the Lenormand. So remember, Lenormand means communication with the birds, and I didn't tell you what Tail of the Dragon means yet, Cauda Draconis. What that represents in Geomancy, pile 1, is endings. Completion. Now, that can be twofold. An ending can be a great thing when you want something to end. An ending can be a bad thing, however, when you don't want something to end, of course. You know, it's kind of a neutral thing, depending on how you look at it. I think why you've been brought up against this choice is because of some sort of communication of the ending of something. I don't know if you were told your company's going to lay off people soon, or you were let go, like you were given a communication of, oh, you're going to leave your job, or we're letting you go, something along those lines, pile 1. Or, you know, it could be a relationship, like maybe you have a partner that was like, you're someone that maybe even in the early stages of dating that was like, I'm not really interested anymore, and so it was like, okay, well, there's an ending. It's like, depending on your situation, like I said, it could be work, it could be romantic, it could be like even something to do with like a friendship, it could be something to do with even a life path, like a passion or path through life that you've been trying to decide to do or like were on before. For some reason, a communication came forward that brought it to an end, and now you're like, well, what do I do? You're like the puma or the mountain lion in the strength card of, okay, there's this disaster or this ending, like the natural disaster around the lions. What the heck do I do now? Of course, we're going to pull some other cards. We have plenty more decks to use today, but I already can tell you, pile 1, what the universe wants to say to you is to muster your strength during this time. You're going to make it through, just like the mountain lions are making it through this natural disaster here. It looks almost kind of like a storm, right? And to follow your heart because of that Knight of Cups. All right? Now, let us draw. Let's see, what do I want to draw next? I'm going to actually grab your other tarot deck. We're going to go with those first, and then we'll have some oracle cards of advice towards the end. So we're going to get more of the story here and kind of the outcome. This is kind of how I see like a timeline of sorts with tarot. All right, Spirit, can you give us around 5 cards explaining more about what's going on here? Thank you. More clarity for pile 1, if so, about the future and what's going on right now. Thank you. And 5. Okay. Let's reveal your cards together. So the first tarot card is the 9 of Pentacles. Okay, so as an inciting incident, pile 1, what this tells me is that especially the disaster or like the ending that you're coming from is something that felt quite unfair. And why I say that is because the 9 of Pentacles reverse represents a time in our life when we've put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into something, a lot of hard work, and we're not getting, or we didn't get, the fruits of our labor out of it. Okay? Because upright, you know, it's like she's tended this vineyard, she's tended these grapes, she's enjoying them, she's plucking one to eat. But reversed, it's you put the vineyard together, you made it grow, but you don't get to eat the grape. Like, that's the kind of situation I'm feeling for you right now, pile 1. And I can tell you, I mean, I understand pile 1. It's really frustrating for you. I completely 100% can feel that with this particular spread, because no one likes having put a lot of work into something and not getting the benefit out of it. Especially, like, say, if this was a job, because Pentacles does tend to represent the suit of career and finances. Also health and home. Sometimes I read that too, but yeah. And then we've got the 10 of Wands. Okay, so we've got a burden. Okay, not only was it unfair to you in terms of you weren't getting what you deserved out of it, it was a big, big burden on your back, pile 1. Look at how they're holding this really heavy load on their back. They're like leaning over. Ouch. Okay, so there might be a little bit of a silver lining in that being let go, as hard as it was, or being brought to the ending of something. Like, it might be stressful, pile 1, but at the same time, I can tell you, if it was a 10 of Wands situation, it might have been kind of a blessing in disguise, at least in some way, not to negate, of course, the negative feelings that you're feeling around this situation. Let's keep going. We have the Page of Wands reversed as the heart of the matter. I like to call that card in the middle. So we have the Page of Wands, who is typically an explorer of some sort. They're almost like a student. They're trying to learn something new, but reversed, it's like, I don't know where to put all this passion and this energy, especially with Wands being the suit of fire. Ambitions, passions, tempers, everything that's related to the spark that keeps you going in terms of what you're interested in, and in terms of, like, sometimes I even kind of want to call the Wands the hope suit. Hope. I think that's a really good word to use for Wands. So that's where you are right now, pile 1. You're like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. You're like this woman, or this girl, I should say, in the desert. Here, I'll hold it up right here so you can see. I'm in this barren land. I just have been dropped here. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do. Where do I take my passion and my energy now? Okay, that's the feeling we have with a Page of Wands reversed. It's, I want to explore something, but I don't know where to go, especially in terms of ambitions, things like that. Near future, we have the 5 of Swords reversed. Okay, so 5 of Swords reversed situation, pile 1, as the near future card tells me that there's something about the situation in the near future where I'm not going to say 100% reconciliation with what happened with the fallout of the end of this thing and the communication related to it. But I think, especially because this is such a contemplative emotion with this particular depiction of the 5 of Swords reversed, it's like there's going to be a lot of like thinking done on the back, or in a I was going to say in a backwards way, but what I mean is like past facing way, ruminating, looking back on it, thinking about, okay, so maybe part of it is like realizing, hey, that thing that I got kind of separated from or ended really was more of a burden than I thought. Okay, so like that's one way that maybe you'll kind of be thinking of it soon. Possibly it also can mean being Swords, which is the suit of air, pile 1. It can mean sorry for my pause. I just lost my train of thought for a second. Yes, okay, sorry. It can mean that we are overcoming a verbal dispute of some sort, or we're like getting over it at this point. So I almost wonder if this communication that ended something was a fight, or if not a full-blown fight, pile 1, it might have been like a tempestuous kind of things were said that maybe weren't the nicestly way put. And maybe that's why the Knight of Cups comes into play here as well, pile 1, is because that's someone that takes action on the heart. And especially if some situation came up where people were kind of fighting a little bit, that can wound the heart. It's not just a separation of, okay, physical distance, it's also a separation of emotional pain from whatever came to an end that now you're having to debate over a choice with. And I think part of reflecting back on the argument or the communication involved that brought that path to an end is a big part of how you're going to figure out what choice to make going forward. Now let's look at the outcome card. We even looked at outcome. Okay, so the outcome card is the Seven of Pentacles reversed. Another Pentacles. Okay, we've got lots of more career, finance-related things in this reading, but we also have, I suppose you have 2 Wands as well. So the Seven of Pentacles reversed as an outcome, pile 1, tends to indicate that, at least in the near future, this trajectory you're going on. And I say this because the Seven of Pentacles reverse tends to represent a time when we need to plant more seeds. Like, we need to start trying to grow the crop that we'll harvest in the future, metaphorically speaking. In a tangible way, pile 1, what that means is I think you might run into a time of kind of struggling a little bit with moving on from this. I don't mean that in the way of, like, say for an example, you lost your job. I don't mean that you're necessarily not going to find another job really quick, right? But what I mean is in terms on an emotional level and in a motivational way, like your spark, your verve, and your vibe for life, right? Or whatever this path is or career, that might be kind of dim for a while. Now, this is the beauty of tarot readings. This is a snapshot in time based on the trajectory you're on right now. You can change that, and that's the beauty of seeing a tarot reading with future steps here, like the Five of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles reversed, especially as the outcome card, is that you can change that. So what you can start doing today, pile 1. I know you're probably still debating over what to do next. Start doing just something. Plant some seed for the future here. If it's you lost a job, put in applications, or even just one. If it's you lost a relationship, be it platonic or romantic, try making new friends or try going on, of course we want to be cognizant of our grief. I don't want to say, like, especially if you just had like a really big messy breakup, potentially pile 1, I don't want to say like, oh, just go out there and date, because that's not easy, especially like if you're really deeply involved with the other person that perhaps you just left, right? Or vice versa. But do something that will be a planting of a seed now. Because the way we look at this, pile 1, yes, it's sad that something came to an end, and now we're kind of looking around like, well, what the heck do I do in this barren land, like the Page of Wands? However, it's also an opportunity, and this is the silver lining of situations like this in life. When you clear out the old, that makes room for you to start something new. Even though you got Cauda Draconis, the tail of the dragon, meaning the ending of something, endings also mean beginnings, just like the Puma or the Mountain Lion in this card of strength. Yes, they went through a harsh time, but they're still alive. And on top of that, I just realized this as well, pile 1. There's a baby. That's a baby mountain lion. That's a cub, right? Life goes on, even after times of struggle. And so right now, the universe is saying it would be a good idea to plant some sort of seed now, whatever that means to you in your own particular situation. A seed of moving forward of some sort or some way, okay? I do have, of course, other cards. I have 2 other oracle decks I want to draw for you today. I want to do, let's see, the Lantern Oracle first as advice. Spirit, do you have advice for pile 1 on this with this deck? Thank you. And then we'll also use the Power of Surrender deck today. thought that would be a good deck for our general universe messages. Okay, so pile 1. Number 19, accountability. Responsibility is a gift of love to yourself and others. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a tough love message as well, pile 1. Okay, I want to just preface that. I want to be an honest tarot reader, as I always say in my readings. That message is a little bit about thinking about your own accountability for things that perhaps went wrong. I'm not saying you're to blame 100%, neither is Spirit, for the communication and the ending and everything. Because I did see that you put in work in with that 9 of Pentacles reversed. You did work, and it was a heavy burden. But it almost seems like a situation where there was a little bit of flaw on each side. So that's why accountability comes up. Responsibility is a gift of love to yourself and others. But you know, it's interesting, pile 1, because look at what she's got on her back. I think those are actually stones. Yeah, they almost look like she's got a basket of rocks, just like the basket on the back of the 10 of Wands. Okay. So on the flip side, pile 1, not only when you reflect back on this, think about maybe where you might have done something maybe a little bit wrong or had a little bit of a flaw in the situation. I think, on the other hand, there are aspects where you're taking on too much accountability for certain things that weren't your fault. Okay, so another piece of advice from the universe is really reflect on what was really something that I did wrong and what was something that I shouldn't have to feel guilty for that wasn't my responsibility. Okay, I think that's where there's a little bit of a misalignment mentally with this. And maybe that's also why you're having a hard time choosing, potentially, what choice and what path to take now. Because it's like you're kind of still stuck in the resentment of all of this. And it's kind of because you're not sure deep down, okay, well, who was really at fault? Or, you know, was I really at fault more than I thought I was? Like, it's kind of just defining that more, really thinking about it critically. And then your Power of Surrender card is Surrender Denial. Accept people and situations exactly as they are without denying the difficulties. Then you can see things clearly and make the best decisions. And that's kind of sort of what I was just saying to you, pile 1. So I apologize, it's a little bit of a repeat, but surrender denial. Okay, so that's an extension of that. It says accept people and situations exactly as they are. Maybe there's some denial that you think that you were more at fault than the other person. So in that case, you need to relieve the burden off your back and realize, hey, maybe I wasn't as fault, or, excuse me, I can't talk today. I wasn't as at fault, there we go, I got it out, as I thought I was. Or on the other hand, if you're completely shouldering off any blame, and this is hard, pile 1, nobody likes to do this, but with some self-reflection, think, was there something that maybe I did that contributed to the problem as well? Okay. Look at the situation with a really clear, objective viewpoint. Maybe even get the advice of someone from the outside that doesn't know the situation, or maybe they know the situation, but they're not as deeply emotionally invested in it, about the wrongs and the rights and who was right and who was wrong. Okay? Because I think your key forward is clarity. Clarity. And that will help you relieve the burden that is preventing you from moving into the future, into making the right choice. Okay. Trying to see if there's any other messages here before I sign off with you today, pile 1. So kind of a bittersweet neutral reading. It seems like the universe wanted to talk to you today about, yes, this is a very hard end, and it recognizes your hard work that you maybe didn't get the fruits of your labor out of, and the burdens that have been bearing down upon you and your confusion right now. But it's also saying it's not really the end, pile 1. You can take steps now to reanalyze the situation from an objective viewpoint and standpoint and plant seeds for the future so that you're not stuck in this place anymore. This mental anguish, this regret, this resentment, whatever negative emotions have been kind of storming around like chaos inside of you regarding this situation, okay? And to have strength, too. To have bravery after that disaster, like the mountain lion surviving after the storm. Okay? You have the strength to weather through and keep going. So, I think that is it for today, pile 1. Let me just do one last glance over at everything. And one last little piece of advice, I'm just thinking about what the guidebook had said about your Dandelion, your pile leader you chose, is that is the card in that particular guidebook about make sure not to linger too long before making a choice. Sometimes it's best to make the choice today. Okay? Of course, acknowledging that there's maybe some things that are holding you back from making a choice because, there's emotional entanglements wrapped up in it, and as well as trying to figure out, well, what really went wrong or what didn't, things like that. Even if you haven't figured it out 100% yet, pile 1, keep moving forward anyway. Sometimes we find out the truth we're seeking that we thought we needed to get started after we get started and get moving anyways. It's one of those situations in life I'm reading here where it's like you're waiting for something to make this choice, some information, but it's information you won't get until after you make the choice and you find it along the way. Kind of ironic, right? Things like that. So that's your reading for today, pile 1. I hope you liked it. I hope it resonated. I hope it helped you out a little bit if you've been maybe struggling to make some choices or trying to, recontextualize maybe a little bit of a communication of ending, as we talked about with your Geomancy and your Lenormand. So if you did like it and it did resonate, please like the video itself. Please comment down below. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, pile 1. Hello there, my wonderful pile number 2. Welcome today to your pick a card reading that is urgent, important messages from the universe. As you recall, of course, your pile leader you chose was the beautiful Poppy number 6. So, as we always do with pile leaders, I'm going to set that over here to the left next to the candle. And let's begin the reading today with both Lenormand, of course, number 1, and then also before each reading, I had already drawn Geomancy sigils for every single pile, so we'll pull that out as well. So we'll talk about more what it means in a second, but pile 2, your particular Geomancy sigil is a Missio. So we'll set that up here. And then, of course, your Lenormand. I'm trying to glean more about what area of your life this particular message from the universe wants to talk about. What area of your life? What's going on? There we go. And then let's also grab the Pastoral Tarot, it is called. Trying to just get a glimpse into your current situation with this. Okay. So let's reveal the Lenormand pile 2. Your Lenormand today is the Lily. Very interesting. Now, the Lily can mean many different things in Lenormand. It can represent family. It can represent sexuality. It can represent purity. Sometimes even just the pleasures in life. So we'll talk about that more in a moment. And then your Pastoral Tarot for today is very interesting. Pile 2, pile 1 got this as well from the same deck. We have Strength with the Mountain Lion or Cougar, Puma, whatever you prefer, sitting there after what looks like a natural disaster, almost like a storm, but they're in the ray of light after the storm has passed. And there's hope for the future because, look, the little baby survived too. Very cute little cub. Strength. Having courage. So looking at all these together, pile 2. I feel like this reading for you today, pile 2, is more about your emotional state than a physical outside goal or situation-oriented thing. And I say that because your geomancy reading today was a missio, which means loss or an emptying. It almost kind of represents a bag being overturned and like the contents falling out. On top of that, too, we have, of course, like I said, the lily kind of means pleasure. It can mean like maybe a loss of pleasure. We also have strength, like trying to muster our courage after a storm. And then the poppy itself, this particular pile leader you were drawn to, represents not getting stuck in the details and moving forward. So I don't know if you've been really emotionally struggling lately, pile 2. I don't know if maybe you like literally lost something. Perhaps it could be like you lost your home, you lost your job, and maybe you lost a loved one. Of course, my condolences for any of those situations, pile 2. None of those are fun to lose. It could also just mean maybe you've just been kind of in an emotional funk. Maybe you've been kind of depressed. Maybe you've been just kind of anxious. Very common nowadays, but I think for you especially, pile 2, I'm getting a more like emotional heaviness off of this reading than, say, compared to pile 1 today. Interesting. And 2, we always think of poppy as, when you think of like opium, you think of like a pain reliever, right? Trying to relieve a pain of some sort. Interesting. I almost wonder, pile 2. Well, let's grab your other tarot deck before I move forward. Okay. Let's draw maybe 5 cards to explain the situation and the outcome more, what's going on. Also, maybe I can kind of help myself glean why this is happening or what's going on in more detail. Okay, number 3, number 4. And let's choose this for number 5. Let's get some nitty-gritty details on the table. So pile 2, your first card here is the Ace of Wands. You know, very interesting, because the Ace of Wands can mean a spark. It can mean a little fidget of motivation. Wands represents fire in tarot, and that has to, relates to, I should say, our motivations, our ambitions, our passions for things, our verve for life. Okay. Then we've got the moon and illusions. Things are not what they seem. Things need to be unveiled. Can also mean heavy emotional states as well. I do associate moon and tarot with that a lot. Let's look at your heart of the matter. You know, another card that pile 1 got today. You know, if you were drawn to pile 1, pile 2, you might also want to check that pile out as well. But 9 of Pentacles reversed in general means there's something that we put a lot of effort into, and now we're not feeling like we're getting what we want out of what we put into it. Basically, almost like she's tending to the vineyard there. She put the work in. Now she's tasting the grapes, but reversed, you don't get the grapes for everything that you put into it. That's not a fun situation to be in, especially in terms of finances and career being the Pentacle suit. But, I kind of get a listlessness too. And then we've got Death, which means change. A door closing, so another one opens as the near future card. And then the outcome today is the 10 of Swords. Okay, yes, this is kind of that emotional heaviness I was just talking about, pile 2. I was like, this reading feels kind of heavy. So for sure, pile 2, like I said, my condolences. I feel like you've been in a funk lately. There's kind of like funk vibes off of this reading. And I almost wonder, at least for some of you, I'm getting the sense because of the Ace of Wands and the Moon being right next to each other as the inciting incident in the recent past. I almost wonder if there was something you were really hopeful for and it fell apart. And especially because of the present being the 9 of Pentacles reversed, aka I'm not getting out of this what I put in. This is not meeting my expectations. That's another really good way to put the 9 of Pentacles reversed. It might be like a new job that you started and you thought, oh, this is the greatest thing ever, and then boop, the illusion broke and you realized, I'm not getting really paid as much as I should be, or it could also be some sort of path that you chose in life and it's just not turning out the way that you thought it would, or a relationship, either way. But what I can tell you, pile 2, is the storm is over. That's what I said with pile 1, because I got that strength card as well. Like the mountain lions surviving and thriving after the storm with the shaft of sunlight shining on them, even though there's devastation around, chaos, right? The hard times are over. Now, there is a little bit of a asterisk with that, with the Ten of Swords being the outcome, which looks kind of grisly, so just hear me out. Don't run away screaming when you see the swords in this guy's back and he looks like he's, because the near future is death, which also looks scary, but just hear me out. Death means change. This is changing. Whatever situation you've been going through recently where you feel like you lost a pleasure, you feel like something that you were really excited for, you had that verve with the Ace of Wands, like, oh, I've got this spark, it seems so exciting, and it seems like it fell apart, that's changing. Things are going to get better. Now, the Ten of Swords is interesting because the Ten of Swords usually means, well, sometimes it can mean a betrayal, because literally there's swords in the back, like, oh, you got stabbed in the back. Maybe that's where the sadness comes from, pile 2. Maybe someone stabbed you in the back recently, and it's been really just getting you down in a funk because you thought, oh, I thought I could trust this person. Or, it could also be the general sensation of having been stabbed in the back by the situation itself. Like, say it was a job that you got hired for, you thought it was going to be fantastic, and it just wasn't, or it has not been so far. But the other interpretation of the Ten of Swords can mean being at the end of something. We're finally done. It took a lot out of us because, ouchie, that's, that's not a fun ending, but it's an ending nonetheless. And especially after death, it means a change. A change because of an ending. And a new beginning after the storm, just like what I said with the Strength card. Having the courage to move forward as well. Having the willpower to move forward even though things have been tough. Because what's interesting with this particular depiction of the Ten of Swords as well, pile 2, and I just, and I've used this deck for years, I just realized this looking at it right now. You can see he's still clenching his hands. There's still life in this person. They're not really at the end. Yes, they came close. But they're still holding on. There's still something left in what's going on, okay? It's not a complete finality. So, I guess the main message I'm hearing here from the universe, and I know it might sound cliche, I know it might sound like, oh, this is, how can you guarantee me this? But the main message from the universe is, please have hope that things will change, that things can change. Please have hope that things can get better. Okay? You'll find pleasure in life again, like with the lily. You'll find that spark again. You'll find somewhere where you do get the fruits out of your labor. And then interestingly, your poppy, did I already mention that the poppy means don't get stuck in details, move forward? If I did not, that's what that means in the particular guidebook with this deck, the Seed and Sickle Oracle pile 2, is the poppy represents don't get stuck in so many details, just keep moving forward, okay? And I almost feel for your particular reading, what that means to me is a message of sometimes even the smallest steps, even if it's like here's an example, pile 2. Have you ever been really, really depressed, or have known someone that's been really, really depressed, and even getting out of bed is hard sometimes for them or for yourself if you were in that situation? Sometimes the best thing you can do in that situation is literally get up and brush your teeth, or get up and clean one thing. Because even though there's that feeling of, well, look how unproductive I've been today. Oh, I'm a loser. I didn't get out of bed. Oh, I was too tired. Blah, blah, blah. The self-defeating talk like that. You still did something, even if it was just as simple as brushing your teeth or cleaning a table or something. Or literally like putting one can that had been on your nightstand in they're recycling. As simple as that. Tiny steps forward. Okay? Almost like with the Ten of Swords guy, he's got his hands clutched even though it seems like there's just no life left in him. Even clenching his hands like that, he's still doing something. He's still moving forward, okay? There's still hope, because as long as we have the ability to believe in betters or happily ever afters, even though we've just gone through a storm, that's really all you need to make miracles happen. I know that sounds maybe kind of cliche and cheesy, pile 2, but it's true. Okay, so if you've been in a depressive funk, don't feel bad if you've been sleeping in bed all day. Because especially when you've been sad, pile 2, especially if you've been really depressed, simply getting up and brushing your teeth, that's like moving a mountain, and that's just as worthy of praise and patting yourself on the back for surviving this as, say, I don't know, whatever unattainable goal, insert here, I don't know. Being really successful in a career and becoming the president, I don't know. I mean, that's like a really extreme example, but you know what I mean. So just to highlight that example. Okay. And 2, with the situation, like, we'll just use another example. If it was, say, a job that, yes, you signed up for, it's not as great as you thought it was, the illusion broke, you're not getting the fruits of your labor, move towards change. Change might be painful, but so is staying in a situation with a 9 of Pentacles reversed of not getting what you're worth or what you put into things. Okay? Don't get stuck in the details. Make choices. Move forward. So let's draw. We have 2 last oracle decks to work with today. I want to draw the Lantern Oracle as advice, and we have the Power of Surrender deck I thought would be great today. So let's try those 2 for you, pile 2. Any advice here for pile 2 otherwise? I wonder if you'll get the moving forward card. It's a woman walking in the desert. No, you didn't. But you did get confusion. Number 36. Confusion. Growth hurts, heals, and harnesses a way through the uncertainty. Look at her, like she's laying on the beach. Like I was saying, like laying in bed, being tired. But it's kind of like a moving forward message, pile 2. Growth hurts, heals, and harnesses a way through the uncertainty. So right now, I think maybe you are still in that storm. Literally back here, it's a storm on the off the shore that she's on. But as long as you keep moving forward, that's all you need to do. And even in times in life when we're uncertain about where we're at, and uncertain on where to go, uncertain about what we want or what we thought we wanted, things like that, keep focusing on little steps of growth. Because that's really what that represents, and this is why it's called the Lantern Oracle, because it uses a lot of lantern symbolism as light guiding the way. Little steps forward are like that little lantern guiding you through a dark time, a dark storm. So find what it is your little lantern right now, pile 2. What little glimmer of hope or light can you cling to in the shadows and the chaos of the storm that will help you keep moving forward no matter what? Because it's going to change. It's going to get better. But sometimes the hardest part of the journey is before we get to change. Is when we think there's no chance for something better. And those are the times when faith and hope are most important, pile 2. Okay, let's grab this one. Surrender to what is. And once again, we have a woman wrapped in a white sheet. This woman was. And then also your moon. She's kind of got a white dress. Surrender to what is. Flow with what is instead of fighting. When you can't change a situation, compassionately accepting it exactly as it is will bring you peace. Okay, so another part of your message from the universe today, pile 2, is Accept what is. Flow with it. Kind of even like that woman laying on the beach in the storm in your Lantern Oracle card. She's flowing with it, man. I mean, most of us would not want to sit on a bare beach. Looks like naked under a sheet with a storm out. I mean, it's prime time for getting like lightning zapped, right? But she's surrendering. I mean, she's even like her position almost reminds me of, if any of you are familiar with yoga, kind of looks like Shavasana, doesn't it? The corpse pose, which is death. Accepting what is, accepting change. She's going with the flow. She's like, okay, universe. Even like surrender what is. Look at her. She's just, I don't want to say thrusting her breast forward because that sounds awkward. Ignore that I said that. That sounds weird, but throw that out the window. But I mean, I guess that is what she's doing. But she's accepting it. I mean, it almost kind of makes you think of her heart chakra. I'll say that instead of her chest. That's a little bit more spiritual and less weird, but oh God, I'm going to get a comment for that. Her heart chakra. Letting it forward, being open, letting it open again, accepting what is. Okay. And that's kind of what, at least to me personally, anyone that's more familiar with the spiritual aspects of yoga, correct me down in the comments below if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what Shavasana is like to me, the corpse pose, just laying there. It's accepting what is. Just like the inevitability of death at the end of life. Things change. There is no constancy. Sometimes that's a sadness, but I think in your situation, pile 2, it's a good thing. That change is possible. That there is that hope for the better, even when things seem the darkest. Even when things don't turn out right. Okay, so ignore the weird chest thrust comment I made. Oh God, okay. Heart chakra, that's what I meant. We'll talk about it as a heart chakra, right? Yeah. And 2, it's interesting, like I said, a lot of these ladies have white dresses on. I'm trying to think of the symbolism of that. Well, even, I mean, look at the Ten of Swords. I just realized that. He's kind of pulling a Shavasana himself, except he's on his stomach, he's not on his back like you're supposed to be in Shavasana, but it's a lot of acceptance right there. Not fun, but he's doing it. And the white sheets and dresses. Well, white means purity, which your lily can also mean purity, like the Lenormand. You know, and there's something here about cleansing I'm hearing as well, pile 2. There's something about this journey you're on right now that part of the reason it needed to happen or why it is happening in your life is because it's cleansing something from your life. Even as mucky or dirty or sad as it might feel, it's actually a cleansing of some sort. Interesting. So if there's anything you do take from this reading, pile 2, sorry, I've been pausing a lot. I'm just thinking deeply here, but if there's anything you take from this reading, whatever situation you're in, just keep moving forward. Don't hesitate. Don't feel bad about how much movement you make or don't make. As long as you made one step, that's all you need to pat yourself on the back at the end of the day. Rome wasn't built in a day, pile 2. Nothing is, right? Have you ever done anything in life where it was like instant success? I mean, maybe once or twice, but 99% of the time, I bet you it was not, right? So keep moving. Even when things seem bleak, even when it seems like things aren't working out, you're not getting the fruits of your labor. You're not enjoying the pleasure of life that you thought you would be at this point. Bask in the inevitability of change, because it's the inevitability of change that gives us the platform to have faith that it will. Okay, so that's what I'll leave you with today. Pile 2 weird things that I've said aside about the chest thing. Whatever. Anyways, I'll stop. I just think it's funny, but so I hope you liked the reading. I hope it resonated with you, and if so, please like the video itself. Please comment down below. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful and more heart-happy rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, Pile 2. Hello there, my wonderful Pile number 3. Welcome today to your Pick a Card reading about urgent and important messages from the universe, meant for your ears right now. And as you recall, the plant you were most drawn to was the beautiful ivy in the vase, number 35. So let's set your pile leader over here to the left, as we always do. And to begin the reading today, I want to start with both Lenormand, of course, and the Geomancy reading. I actually did Geomancy before every single pile today, just to save us time, and so you didn't have to watch me make a bunch of dots and make a sigil and everything. So your Geomancy sigil today is Carcer, which we'll talk more about what it means in relation to the rest of your reading later, but it can mean confinement, security, sometimes a trap. So we will put that there, and then let's draw your Lenormand. I'm trying to ask what area of your life Spirit wants to give your messages for. More clarity here. We have the mountain, and you know what the mountain means, pile 3? Obstacles in Lenormand. So not only do we have confinement, security, trap, we have an obstacle. And interestingly, I usually talk about this later in the reading with the pile leader, but your pile leader today, the ivy in this particular deck, represents the power of slow growth, the power of slow change. Don't give up, keep climbing, even if it feels like you're just taking tiny steps at a time. And that's actually interesting, pile 3, because I feel like every single pile today has had kind of a similar message. So I don't know if collectively we're all kind of feel like we're walking through molasses. We all feel like we're kind of going slow and things are kind of getting stagnant and we want change, but it's taking a while to get there. But especially with your reading today, pile 3, that being the message of your ivy about, even if it's slow growth, it's still growth, keep going. And then there's obstacles and a confinement. So this reading is about, I think, probably how to get rid of an obstacle, or at least how to deal with an obstacle that you're facing in your life right now. Let's gain more clarity. I want to ask let's grab Pastoral Tarot. More about your role in this. I always like a good how to break an obstacle reading. It's one of my favorite uses of tarot and cartomancy in general. There we go. We've got the 10 of Pentacles with a pumpkin patch. Very cute. So 10 of Pentacles can represent family, sometimes can represent legacy. We have, of course, it looks like different generations of people. We've got a grandfather, and then the parents, and then we've got children here, and then even puppies, right? Looks like this might even be the parent, and then this is the puppy of the parent of the dog. And sometimes even inheritance, too. Fulfillment with money. So I think what you've been coming across recently, pile 3, is some sort of situation with an obstacle with money or family or inheritance, and trying to figure out how to go forward through some sort of obstacle that's come up in the way of this. Maybe you were denied an inheritance, or there's been some legal problems related getting the inheritance, or sometimes the 10 of Pentacles can also represent fulfillment, or the fruiting of the labor we put into a lot of work over a long period of time. So I don't know, maybe you're facing retirement soon, wondering how you're going to work through your retirement, maybe even some financial difficulties with that. It could also mean just in general something to do with passing things down, like inheritance, in terms of, a house. It could mean in terms of, object of value. It could also mean sometimes mentorship. Sometimes I see the 10 of Pentacles as a mentorship card too, especially in terms of the workplace. Okay, so all that said and done. Okay, after all that is said and done, I kind of ranted about the 10 of Pentacles for a while there, but it does, and it can mean many different things. There's an obstacle or a confinement or feeling of being stuck or trapped in some way, or dealing with security of some sort with this situation. Okay, so all that said, before I ramble more about the 10 of Pentacles, I make fun of myself, it's funny. Let's grab your tarot cards from the Ethereal Visions, our main tarot deck today. Let's More about the inciting incident to this up to the outcome. Thank you, Spirit. How do we break this obstacle? How do we get it out of the way? I wish it was just as easy as karate chopping a block of wood, but alas, life is not that easy most of the time. Okay, so number 1, we have the Two of Cups reversed. Interesting as an inciting incident. That can mean disharmony in relationships, a lack of harmony in some sort of friendship group or with a partner of some sort, or even just with one single person. Then we have the second card, the Five of Pentacles, a hardship of some sort. Okay, so for sure, recent past being the Five of Pentacles, especially being Pentacles, can mean money-related issues. And disillusionment with the system. That's another less common interpretation of the Five of Pentacles. And then we've got the Seven of Wands reversed. Oh boy. Present and the heart of the matter. We feel quite surrounded on all sides, don't we? Youch. Okay. Quite surrounded on all sides, pile 3. We've got the figure here. I'll hold it upright so you can see. He is defending himself all by himself, and he's got these other 6 wands pointing up at him. He's got to bat them all away. He's surrounded. He feels defensive, especially reversed. It's in the negative of feeling either too defensive about something or feeling overwhelmed by having to defend oneself from all sides too much. Oh, beautiful, though. Look at that. In the near future, we've got the King of Pentacles. Okay, I can tell you this. Pile 3, whatever issues you've been having with money, it's going to come to an end soon. There's going to be some breakthrough, because going from a Five of Pentacles to a King of Pentacles, I mean, hardship with money to the master, or mastering of money, okay? Great sign, right? But the King of Pentacles can also represent a person sometimes. Especially a older man who is, or masculine energy I should say, who is good with money, who is responsible with money, or who's very good about being ambitious with their career, wise with their career, with financial investments and spending and things like that. And then last but not least is the outcome. We have justice. Beautiful as an outcome, pile 3. Things will be righted and fair in the end. Almost kind of gives you an Athena vibe, too. She's got these scales. She's got the owl like Athena. Okay, so what I can tell you, pile 3. Whatever issue you've been having, where there's been an obstacle, you feel trapped, there's been hardship, there's been disharmony in relationships because of all this gobbledygook that's going on, it's coming to an end, at least in terms of areas of financial burden. That's getting better. And fairness and justice. Also, justice can represent legal things. So especially, like I said before, if this is an inheritance-related problem you've been having recently, pile 3, like, I don't know if it's like getting paperwork through with inheritance or like things like that, or like a will being read or something along those lines, justice wins in the end. Okay. Because justice can also represent the law, like legality, lawyers, things like that. So your problems are coming to an end in those areas, at least, pile 3. All right. But I'm interested in what breaks it. I'm going to grab just one extra card. I get the feeling that the King of Pentacles is kind of what is breaking this ouchie ouch over here. Let's grab the... I'm actually going to do Lenormand with this. Spirit, could you please tell me for pile 3? I'm just curious. I'm going to draw extra for them today. What breaks the hardship? What brings them to King of Pentacles and Justice vibes? Thank you. What breaks it? We've got the snake, the serpent that is sometimes renewal, sometimes fierceness. Can sometimes represent a woman as well. A snake in the grass. which, you know, it's a very neutral card because sometimes, you know, we think of a snake as a very negative thing, but snakes can also represent renewal in the way that they shed their skin. They can also represent healing at times. Oh, man, I usually don't draw that many clarification cards. I'm going to draw one more, pile 3, I'm sorry. Because that snake is throwing me for a loop, excuse the pun. Let's grab this one right here. And the owl. Speaking of owls, hey, it's even a barn owl. Look at that. Lots of owls. Another thing, pile 3, if you've been seeing a lot of owl symbolism lately, or things with Athena, for example, or perhaps, they're barn owls, something to do with barns, right? That's synchronicity I'm seeing in your reading, something to do with owls, okay. But beyond that, the owls mean communication. They're the birds, technically, traditionally, in most Lenormand decks here. And so, a fierce communication. Oh. So, you know what, pile 3? If you feel like you've been having to defend yourself a lot in the present tense, or you feel like you're surrounded on all sides, you know what's going to get you out of it? Fierce communication. You need to shake or rattle, like a rattlesnake. Or you need to have someone do it for you. You need to show somebody, hey, I mean business. I ain't putting up with this anymore, okay? Get me out of this cage. Get me out of this obstacle. I mean business, yeah, okay. So that's what that means. And the King of Pentacles can represent someone like that, right, pile 3? Because as I was saying before, it's someone who's really good with business deals, is really good with money deals, investments, things like that, especially because it's where the masculine meets the material and the mastery of it, right? A King of Pentacles, if they came across legal things or they were being trampled, trampled, that's the word. Being trampled all over, they wouldn't put up with that. Do you think they'd put up with that? No, they would not. Okay. Fierce communication is what's going to break you out of that. And that's what's going to bring you on the road to justice and legal fairness, okay? So if you have been racking your brain lately on what the heck do I do to get out of this pain in the butt situation, you need to speak fiercely. You need to communicate fiercely. Because I almost wonder, I get the feeling that like someone's kind of overstepping your boundaries or they're not taking you seriously. And that's precisely when you need to speak like a snake would, rattle. Like, hey, I don't want to threaten anything. I don't want to be mean, but I'm in the right here and you need to do what I say because, especially with legal things, pile 3, because I'm sure, you know, if it's a legal matter, you've looked up what your rights are, right? Or you've looked up, like, what's supposed to happen. They need to respect that. They need to respect you. Okay? Let them know you are somebody to be respected and feared. And I mean, I hate to say feared because that sounds negative, but sometimes that's the only thing that works with people, okay? I mean, you know, if you're like me, pile 3, and I assume most of you are, because most nice people are, right? You want to be kind. You want to take the route of, like, well, let's just be amiable and really nice and kind. But sometimes people don't respond to that. They respond to fierceness. So that's what I'm saying with those particular cards. Let me look over to, I'll look at your pile leader again 1 second. Because the ivy means, yeah, don't give up. Keep climbing and slow growth. So yeah, don't give up either, okay? Just like the ivy is a very stubborn plant, right? It's a climbing vine. It keeps growing. It grows even in the hardest of places. It always winds around and it tries to find places to grab onto. Be clever in where you find things to hold on to keep moving yourself forward and upward in the situation, okay? Just like the ivy would. Like, this sounds kind of silly, but if a plant of ivy was in your situation, what would it do? Where would it look to grab next, to hold on to keep moving forward and upward? Okay? And I'm sorry, pile 3, that you would have to be like that with the fierce snake communicating that way. Because I get the feeling you've already been trying to at least stand up for yourself a little bit. Because that's what the 7 of Wands means. It means standing up for yourself as well, defending a boundary. But sometimes you got to pull out the big bazooka and be like, okay, You need to listen to me or else. Like, so that's what I'm hearing is how to break your obstacle. Let's also grab, though, I have 2 final decks of advice in this particular reading. I want to grab Lantern Oracle and the Power of Surrender cards. So, Spirit, any parting advice for our wonderful pile 3 today? Thank you. Let's see if you get a stand up for yourself card with this particular deck today. Maybe, maybe not. False beliefs. Look at that, Athena. We have another owl. I swear to God, pile 3. Something with owls. I don't know what that is. Okay, whoa, okay. You got lots of owls, which is great. I love owls. They're cute. This one is a great horned owl, I believe, or some variant. False beliefs, number 13. Once the untruths that we believe about ourselves are illuminated, so are the ways we can release the false limitations they confine us to. Yes, so it's like breaking free from something, like your cursor says here. Confinement. We're trapped in something. I think part of the issue too, pile 3 here, is that you are trapping yourself in false beliefs about your own ability. Maybe to stand up for yourself or to speak more fiercely for your own rights, right? Or what you deserve justly by the law and, other moral reasons. But, yeah, untruths we believe about ourselves, illuminated so we can release the false limitations they confine us to. Sorry, I'm just looking over this card one more time here. And just the abundance of owls. I mean, they represent wisdom. They represent justice, associated with Athena, right? They represent tactical thinking, like Athena. They also represent, some cultures saw them as messengers of death or creatures that were attuned to the other side. Okay, which can be relevant in terms of if there's a will going on, right? A message from the other side after someone's passed. And that too, as a synchronicity, pile 3, part of your answer might be something to do with something that has some sort of symbolism of owls next to it, which sounds weird, but just sometimes that does happen in life. We get synchronicities like that, so. Very perceptive animals as well. They're very good at hearing things, right? Their ears are especially, well, they're not even ears really. I mean, that's even the great horned owl. They look like ears, but they're not. Their ears, though, the holes, I guess I should say, are very attuned. They can hear a heartbeat of an animal far away so that they can hunt with precision. Okay. So keep your ears open as well. Listen to what you hear closely. Well, for sure this one says pick me. Ooh, surrender frustration. Frustration doesn't open any doors. The key to resolving a dilemma or dissolving a block, okay? Boop, boop, we got the mountain. To dissolving a block is to take a breath, center yourself, and regroup so you may approach the situation more calmly. So that's one parting piece of advice from Spirit and the universe today for you, pile 3, is if you are getting frustrated, which, okay, I'll preface this. You're 100% right to be frustrated. Like, 100%. I can tell that by everything going on. You've got a right to be mad. But there's some sort of warning about not letting frustration guide your actions. You can feel it, but be wary of reacting immediately based on fiery frustration. Because sometimes frustration can be a spark that starts a wildfire we didn't expect. Or being, like, irritated with things. Like, sometimes, like, say you're having a really, really bad day, and everything's going wrong, and you've got a headache, and, like, you're dealing with this problem right here, like, we're talking about this whole obstacle that we've been referencing the whole reading. And sometimes you just say something, and you're like, oops, I didn't mean to say that, but I was so tired and frustrated, and I had a headache, insert problems here. I was irritable, and it just blew out. Okay, so be wary of that going forward with this situation. I do see it clearing for you for sure, but that is one parting piece of advice, okay? Frustration doesn't open doors. If it's especially someone that you have to communicate with, which, like, we saw that with the birds and the snake earlier, the fierce communication, don't produce frustration in the tone of what you're saying. Even if it's just an email. Just be very clear about, this is a boundary. This is what's the right thing to do. this is what needs to be done, okay? Not, I'm frustrated, you know, you're a piece of crap, you suck, you know, like things like that, which, I mean, you probably wouldn't do pile 3, but everybody falls to frustration and irritability sometimes, and sometimes those things come out, okay? Because Spirit is saying your best way forward is ferocity with professionalism, okay? And not frustration and irritability. Also, just for your own sake, for your own self-care, for your own mental health, take breathers, take breaks. You have the right to take breaks and take breathers, okay? Even if it means getting up away from that email that maybe you're going to send that's sternly worded, okay? Just for 5 minutes, and then come back to it after you cool down a bit and go, okay, how is this tone going to come off now that I've calmed down? All right. And sometimes pile 3, this sounds really weird. This might sound awkward, but one thing that sometimes helps me personally, just as an anecdote, is if I'm really, really mad about something, sometimes I'll even like write something out, like I'm going to send it to the person I'm really, really just peeved off at, but then I never actually send it. I don't know if any of you have ever done the same. Feel free to, you know, pop off in the comments down below if you have, but just doing that, like pretending you're going to send it, but you're not, everything you would say if you had no filter, it's actually kind of relieving. Because it feels like the action of taking that frustration out, even though you wouldn't actually send it. So that I'm hearing that as from Spirit, a little piece of advice. Send a really angrily worded letter, everything you wish you could say, then don't send it. Then if you do actually have to have a communication of some sort, take the core of what you're desiring based on, you know, the moral legal right that you're basing your argument upon without the frustration in it. Because you can get it out with the angrily worded letter you'll never send. Okay, things like that. And, you know, I didn't really reflect too much on the Two of Cups reverse as the inciting incident. Very interesting. It's like a break in a relationship of some sort as the inciting incident. Huh. So that could mean for the majority of you, or at least a good chunk of you, that this is something to do with a relationship that kind of fell apart or fell to hardship. Okay. Like maybe a divorce that comes up with, you know, legality in relationships, you know, or a breakup of some sort, or like a relationship issues and disharmonies and conflicts in terms of family, especially like if inheritance is involved, because I've heard, you know, and I think all of us have heard horror stories around people arguing over inheritance. It just happens, unfortunately, because, well, you know, money corrupts. So that's how I would interpret that. Usually I wouldn't go right back to the first card, but I was like, hey, wait a minute, I didn't talk about that yet. That's kind of what that means if you're interested in why the Two of Cups is there. So, yes, if there's anything you take away from this reading, stand up for yourself. Speak with ferocity professionally, okay? And know that the obstacle is going to be gotten through shortly, especially in terms of money and in terms of justice and what's fair to you. Okay, justice is the outcome, which is great. Also, for some reason, a lot of owls. Something like that. Okay, so that's what I'll leave you with today, pile number 3. I hope the reading was helpful. I hope it resonated. I hope you liked it. And if so, please like the video itself right now. Please comment down below. Please subscribe to Lone Pine Tarot if you haven't done so yet, because that just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition on the channel, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Bye, pile 3.